Fairview woman says her phone company is taking advantage of the elderly.
The 75-year-old woman says she's been billed for years for services she's never used. She discovered it when a computer technician reviewed her phone bill and knew right away something was wrong.
This was the one we called on the July bill.
Maggie Zadek has kept meticulous phone records. She also made a habit of asking AT&T to itemize her nearly $100 a month bill every 6 months to see if she could find some savings.
I said, can you please go over my itemized bill? I'm on a fixed income, I'm a senior, I need to know everything that I'm paying for and if you have a better plan.
She says she was repeatedly told she couldn't live without AT&T's $11.95 long-distance service or $29.95 internet service.
You want to keep your email address, don't you? There's AT&T. I said, oh, of course I do. She says, well, then you have to have this service.
Maggie was recently having trouble with her internet, so she called a technician who reviewed her bill and was astonished by what he saw.
And then he's looking at my bill and he's going, what's this, long distance? He says, don't you have unlimited long distance? I said, of course I do. He said, so why being charged $11.95 every month for long distance?
But the long-distance charges are just a half of it. You see, Maggie's connected to Verizon's network for internet, not AT&T's, and hasn't been for 15 years. She also learned her basic service plan includes unlimited long distance.
I have totally unlimited long distance. Now, these came from them.
So what is she paying $11.95 for? Her tech called AT&T for her.
She says, oh, that's for international calls. And so I write him notes, because he's on the phone now, on speakerphone. And I said, I've never made an international call in my life.
Maggie couldn't understand how AT&T didn't know she wasn't using their internet or long-distance services, but was still billing her.
He says, have you noticed she's never made an international call in 15 years? She said, well, and you advised her to keep the long-distance service?
We checked out AT&T's rating with the Better Business Bureau. They're A+ and an accredited business, meaning they pay for a ratings review and make a good faith effort to resolve disputes. And there are many, nearly 21,000 complaints over the past 3 years, more than 7,400 of those for billing and collection issues which AT&T tries to resolve.
She said, all right, I can give you 3 months. I said, totally unacceptable.
Maggie says AT&T upped the measly offer to just 6 months. She thinks the overbilling was intentional and no mistake.
Corporate greed is so overwhelming, it's infiltrated all the values of American business. Now they don't care about the person as much as they care about getting their fees.
She says she's willing to forget the past 15 years of unnecessary charges if they just refund her the past 19 months that she still has records. According to her math, that's $891.75.
I said, I don't want 6 months. I want a total refund for something they misled and charged.
After hours on the phone and a promise of at least a 3-month refund, this is what she got on her next bill.
Not only did they continue charging me for long distance, they gave me a credit on the internet for $5.
We contacted AT&T and a spokesman sent us this response late this afternoon. Quote, we strive to provide an effortless experience to all our customers. We have worked with the customer to resolve her issues and value her business, unquote. Maggie Zadek says that AT&T has contacted her and they are still working on a resolution.
Ride sharing or using apps like Uber and Lyft are an easy and convenient way to get around. But are riders who are using Uber putting themselves at risk?
Taxi drivers think they have an advantage when it comes to safety. Frank Fabodi has more in tonight's reality check.
Oh yeah, I do it full time. Love it.
Uber drivers like Eric Malone love the flexibility.
Usually we'll come on anytime between 5 or 6, depending on the day.
And believes passengers are just as safe with him as they are in a taxi.
To become an Uber driver, I did have to prove that I do have insurance. Uber does take care of additional insurance as well.
Lettering, radios, meters.
But Ben Queen, co-owner of J&J Cab Service, who spends thousands to meet city requirements for taxis,
Insurance requirements, background checks, I could go on forever.
isn't so sure Uber passengers have the same protections.
I carry full commercial coverage on all these vehicles. They're maintained regularly by 2 certified mechanics.
Most Uber drivers don't have commercial insurance.
So if they found out, the carrier being they, that you were riding around our customers for Uber, they would deny any claim you had, I'm certain.
And he's right. I contacted several insurance companies who said if you're driving for Uber and you have an accident and you reach for your glove box to grab your insurance, you could learn that your coverage has been denied. And even worse, your policy could be ripped up and permanently canceled.
Despite that,
I enjoy this more than anything I've ever done before. So
Malone isn't worried, knowing Uber also has a $1.5 million added liability policy. But Queen believes Uber riders are still at risk in cars without any real insurance.
And these Uber drivers drive around with their just personal vehicles, personal insurance, and I mean, I'm sure they know that they're not going to be covered.
In Asheville, Frank Ferboni, News 13.
I enjoy this more than anything I've ever done before. So
Eric Malone is an Uber driver and says he covers his car with personal automobile insurance.
So I had to show that I do have insurance, and I carry comp and collision as well.
Uber provides $1.5 million in liability and $1 million for uninsured motorists for all of its drivers when their app is on or when passengers are in the car. When Uber is turned off, drivers are counting on their personal auto insurance policy to cover them. But insurance experts at AAA say that's where Uber drivers are making a big mistake.
What they need to do is talk to that carrier and say, hey, I'm looking to start accepting passengers for pay. Will that be covered? And the answer is going to be more than likely, no, it's not.
But that's exactly what Uber drivers are not doing. We've learned many are hitting the road without ever telling their insurance company.
I spoke to an Uber driver who didn't want to be identified. He told me drivers can't tell their insurance companies because they know if they do, their personal policies will be canceled and any claims denied.
If there is an accident, more than likely, if the insurance carrier finds out that that person was an Uber driver, more than likely they won't pay the claim, like we just mentioned. They won't pay it.
That's because the driver is violating his personal policy, using it instead for business, even when that driver is off the Uber clock. That means Uber drivers are putting everyone, including pedestrians, at risk, effectively driving around without insurance.
There's a lot of risk going on here that the drivers really aren't considering.
North Carolina's new act to regulate transportation network companies, signed into law last September, tried to address this loophole. It says a TNC driver must notify both the insurer of the vehicle and any lien holder if they plan to use the vehicle for Uber or any other TNC. Violating this law or their personal policy not only risks your insurance being denied or canceled, it can also create legal trouble.
Not too probable, but could happen. The insurance carrier could file suit for fraud, misrepresentation. So there are some big risks being taken here by Uber drivers who aren't getting a commercial auto policy.
A follow-up tonight to a Fairview woman's complaint about unfair charges by AT&T.
Since our first story aired, several other customers have come forward saying they too have been charged for services that they never received. In tonight's Reality Check, News 13's Frank Ferboni explains how customers' problems didn't begin until they tried to cancel their AT&T accounts.
I said, I don't want 6 months. I want a total refund for something they misled and charged.
Maggie Zadek couldn't believe it when she learned she was being charged by AT&T for internet services she didn't use or need.
Now they don't care about the person as much as they care about getting their fees.
After seeing our story, Sue Bober of Flat Rock thought it sounded very familiar to her own problem with AT&T.
And I says, why do I have an outstanding balance when I've never had the service?
And so did Mildred Matthews of Asheville.
I don't owe any of it because I never had that service.
Sue and her husband recently moved here from Wisconsin and wanted to continue her DirecTV owned by AT&T. When DirecTV wasn't available, she canceled the bundle that included AT&T Internet back in May and sent back the equipment before it was ever hooked up.
And I got a confirmation number stating that I did that.
But the bills just kept coming, with different charges every month, even though she never received the services.
And each month when I got a bill, I called.
Mildred has a similar story. She too moved last year and canceled her AT&T for TV, telephone, and internet. At that time, an AT&T representative tried to sell her AT&T wireless.
And they said that was what they were charging me for, was for a cell phone. And I've never had a cell phone with them ever.
Despite saying no, a box from AT&T Wireless arrived at her doorstep. Instead of opening it, she sent it back. But AT&T still sent her this bill for a month's wireless service and a fee for canceling her contract, a contract she says she never signed or agreed to.
Actually, I feel like I'm being scammed by AT&T. You don't do that to people, with charging for a service they don't receive.
Now she's getting notices from a collection agency asking for hundreds of dollars in phone calls from that very same collection agency every day.
So you think they're just harassing you?
This harassment, yes.
They kept promising me, we'll take care of it, and then the next month I'd get another bill.
Sue says AT&T is now telling her her account balance is zero with a $5 credit, but she's not sure what to believe. And Mildred?
But I let them know that I had never had a wireless phone. I didn't know that bill, and to please stop calling me, but they don't. They've called me today, and they'll call me tonight probably.
She's now sick over her damaged credit for a cell phone she never asked for or wanted.
I think I should see an attorney.
In Asheville, Frank Forboni, News 13.
They can't understand why they're being charged to install a free VA marker.
It's happening in Transylvania County at a cemetery where the family purchased plots years ago. Now they can't understand why their lost veteran can't get his due.
George Greenwood served in the Army in Korea. His wife Beth buried him 2 years ago.
He said that to his mother.
He was laid to rest here at Blue Ridge Garden of Memories, where the family was told because of military status he was entitled to a free VA marker.
And he said that, you want me to just go ahead, since he was a soldier, to go ahead and order his monument? I said, if it's free, go ahead and order it.
But when it came time to install the marker at the gravesite, she learned there would be a $500 fee, even though the company that put in his monument offered to do it for free.
I thought that was a ridiculous price. When McMahon said they would put it down and it wouldn't take a bag of cement.
They say you told him there is no more fee.
I did not.
Ron Nelson is the cemetery manager and says VA markers are provided free of charge by the military. But because they're a perpetual care cemetery, there are fees for every stone placed here.
When you think of the work that we have to do to go ahead and maintain that forever, that's not a bad cost whatsoever.
We checked with several other perpetual care cemeteries in our area, and all of them also charge for perpetual care and installation. But Beth and her daughter feel they've been misled, since her contract for the plots purchased in 1964 included a percentage for perpetual care.
I had also talked to some people that's connected with the VFW, and they were shocked when I told them what they wanted to put down. They said they thought it was free also.
Beth's also upset that it took 2 years to get the VA marker, now stored in a shed at her home after refusing to pay for the installation.
They wouldn't let me see even the marker. I didn't see it until maybe a couple of weeks ago.
But Nelson says that's not true. He says they couldn't let them take it home because they're bound by VA rules, which stated it had to be set in his cemetery.
Then we told them, if you can get the VA to let us know you can have it, we'll be glad to give it to you. And that's what we did.
Because of the Greenwoods case, Ron says the cemetery owner has decided the installation of VA markers will be free from now on. But there will still be a $1.30 per square inch fee for perpetual care.
It don't make you feel good.
But that's no consolation for Miss Greenwood, who's already spent nearly $1,200 to install her husband's monument. That's still missing his veteran's marker.
But I feel like that was dishonor to him to hold his monument like that. And it still hurts.
Blue Ridge Gardens of Memory is privately owned. Unlike the state's Veterans Cemetery, there all monuments and markers and installation are free for veterans.